Just record something like that, make sure it's under 3 minutes, and then make it into something loopable, and then we can use one of YouTube's technological alternatives to a start soon screen to not actually need to do a start soon screen, because streams can have trailers now and all kinds of other YouTube-y stuff, which is what we're here to talk about. What is up, everybody? This is Jay, aka MultimediaJay, with nothing better to do on a Saturday night. Actually, no, just kidding. So we're here. One of the things that causes me to stream when I know I should be making videos instead is when people bring up stuff that I feel like responding to. In a sense, you know, these streams, especially when I do the not so interesting thumbnails on them, when I make them into videos on YouTube after the extended processing is finished, these streams kind of pick up where old school YouTube videos left off. I really think that if this could be what vlogging was like back in the 2000s, YouTube would basically be like this. So in a sense, you can say that the chat stream culture that has popped up on YouTube and Twitch is the direct result of YouTube and Twitch and their usual stuff and things along those lines. The chat stream culture that is a thing on YouTube and Twitch is basically a descendant of what vlogging used to be. There were just technological limitations and broadband limitations back then. But I wonder if, you know, some of the aging creators on YouTube that have some wrinkles and some gray hair these days, if they could have been something like what, say, the big Twitch streamers are back in our time in the 2000s, how much better would they have done when they had the passion, they had the personality, and back then they had the good looks before the wrinkles and gray hair started showing up. And yet the technology just wasn't there yet. Of course, die, fly. Trying not to kill this TV. Anyways, yeah, of course, there's probably, and I've seen some of these Twitch streamers that introduce people to their family, and I often wonder, some of their Generation X parents that are like 50-something years old now, do they see what their kids are getting into? And they wonder if they could have gotten, you know, they could have done that as well. Maybe they understand it, but the technology just wasn't around when they were 20-something years old. It's one of the problems with the creeping decrepitude known as age. So, but nobody, no matter how old they are, should be intimidated out of content creation. If you want a great example of this, watch Skyrim Grandma. Enough said. Anyways, what are we here tonight to talk about? Well, we're doing an experiment. First of all, I've added a scene called Logitech G. So I've been experimenting, and there it is. So I've been experimenting with Logitech G software, which there was a firmware update for my Yeti microphone. And the firmware update is obviously with this Logitech G stuff. It's obviously an attempt to compete with Elgato, because Elgato's microphones have full software control of the audio. So Logitech G and Blue microphones teaming up essentially to turn Yetis into competitors, because there's obviously a threat on the horizon with Elgato threatening to out Yeti the Yeti. Yeah, sure, a Yeti is good for a laptop and stuff like that, maybe with its standalone stand and its, you know, its quality and its presets and things like that. You can take a Yeti, for example, put it in front back mode and do an interview that way. But the world has changed in the last 10 years. And now you have a company that is making stuff directly geared towards streamers, the sorts of people who will want to use fancier microphones instead of the one that's built into the camera. So, little surprise, there's, with Elgato making the rounds the way it is, that you have the sorts of things going on with Logitech G and Blue to try and compete with it. So we're going to mess around with the competition software here. So I've been experimenting with the bass boost preset and trying to turn it into a MultimediaJay preset, and we're experimenting with a couple of things at a time here. So first off, there's some very good noise reduction and compression and other stuff in OBS baseline, but what's missing is EQ. That's where the microphone software comes in. It adds a bass roll off at 60 hertz, as well as EQ, dropping out the mid-range. You're going high on the lows and highs, similar to what makes music in general louder and stuff like that. It is loudness war type stuff we're doing here, but we are trying to emulate essentially a broadcaster setup, because in today's world, as I was talking to Braelyn, the reason why we're having this discussion, as I was talking to her on Twitter last night, or yesterday afternoon, I should say. Day and night mean different things to night shift people like me. as I was saying, we have an environment nowadays where the radio has essentially been reinvented via the online media scene that exists today. So you have a situation where people are watching YouTube videos on their phones. They're going to be listening to you through smartphone speakers. So the processing of audio for discussions like this, if they want to have something to listen to and whatnot, is incredibly important nowadays, because we've recreated a problem we used to have with radio, where if you were broadcasting or making something or whatnot, you had it, well, especially with broadcasting, because it's live and you may not get a chance to catch it after the fact. When broadcasting, you always had to take into account, what if someone had a crappy radio somewhere out there with a terrible speaker and no sound quality? Could you still be heard? Could you still broadcast? And could you still be understood? And this is one of the big reasons why radio sounds the way it sounds and why it compresses the living daylights out of music. In case there's a crappy PA on the other side, people have to still be able to hear everything. And it's also the reason why you should not judge music based on its lack of a dynamic range. The loudness war. Someone creating a record or a CD or some other kind of home recording of something should have the artistic license to decide what parts are loud and what parts are soft. Classical music has been doing this for centuries. The only reason people think that loud is automatically better sounding is because they are conditioned that way because of the radio. And the radio wasn't doing that because it's actually better sounding. The radio was doing that because someone might have a crappy speaker on the other side. And if you want to attract as big of an audience as possible with a broadcast, you're going to want to be listenable by a wide range of equipment. It's essentially lowest common denominator. So OBS has very robust support for noise filters, compressors, and other stuff, even a limiter that I haven't played with yet. But what's missing is EQ and a bass roll-off. So I've decided tonight, this is what we're playing with tonight for tonight's discussion. I'm going to use equalizer and bass roll-off through a high-pass filter, and I'm going to shut off all the features that are something that OBS does to try and cut down on the over-processing of the sound. Plus, OBS has some higher quality stuff that uses a little more CPU anyways. So to stack a more basic noise reducer, noise gate, or compressor or whatnot, I do have my pointer, right? Yes. To stack lower quality versions of these filters on top of OBS is redundant and basically was leading to situations where this whole thing, this whole setup sounded underwater, overproduced, overcompressed, like a bad MP3 from 1999. And it got to the point where I sounded like I was mispronouncing words because of the attempts to control plosives by multiple physical and software devices. The windscreen is supposed to deal with plosives. I also have a pop filter that I could hook up if I found myself having more plosive problems. And then there's the software trying to control plosives through the depopper filter over here. So you have all of this software jumping on top of hardware, trying to make me sound better and just trying too hard and making it sound like, for example, I might screw up some consonants or I might flub a word here and there, when in reality, it's the software. So part of what I'm experimenting with this for is I'm curious just how viable it is to do this kind of stuff through software as opposed to getting into hardware. Because part of the consumerization of professional equipment like this is something where you have this setup and it's doing everything through software. A computer's doing all the work for you. But what if the CPU gets overloaded? Or what if something glitches out in the code? Do you want to sound like a bad Skype call because you're doing through software what you can actually buy hardware to do? And of course, it's more of an investment to set up hardware for this. But I often wonder if there might be, quality issues with the consumer grade version of these technologies that are present in software from Blue and Elgato and stuff along those lines. So yeah, I'll do some experimenting with that. Some more recap from last night worth noting. I never mentioned what actually caused the fly problem in this place. I've been trying to eat healthier, so I started making some tuna sandwiches. rediscovering the simplicity that is tuna salad sandwiches, or sometimes literal tuna salad with a head of lettuce. Problem is, the lettuce leaves that I didn't end up using, trash. The lettuce stems, that counts as rotting food in the house. So, and then of course, you open up the can of tuna, you got to dump the water out in the sink, but that'll have like fish crap in it and stuff like that. So blah, it gets gross. And if you're not scrubbing your sink and probably bleaching the drain as well or whatever to, could be an interesting place for flies. So yeah, it's that summer thing once again. The humidity's too high for too long, and now the slightest little thing you do gives you pest problems, even if it's not a problem any other time of the year. I can tell you right now it's 80 degrees outside with a dew point of 70. So that's close to Florida level humidity, even though the temperature isn't as high. But flies, who love humid, swampy climates for doing stuff, yeah. So I've been running the AC as a dehumidifier, and I've crashed the humidity in this place down to 46%. In the winter, it gets down into the 30s. Hopefully this drives off whatever pests are remaining, and we'll just sweep things later. All right, why the heck are we here? Why am I streaming early in the evening on a Saturday night? I've got chores to do, and I will do them later tonight. And I'll work on tech videos while, say, there's loads of laundry spinning in the dryer. And I can close the door of the bathroom where the little portable dryer goes and do this kind of stuff. So why are we here? Well, Braelyn, a.k.a. Flufffymonkey, spelled wrong, by the way, with 3 F's. Flufffymonkey, basically. She asked me in some Twitter DMs yesterday. She asked me into some Twitter DMs yesterday about YouTube because she wants to get back into YouTube. And next thing you know, here I am being Mr. Nerd, walking encyclopedia, and I'm looking over this stuff that I said, and I'm like, this is better off as a stream or as a video or something along those lines. So what we should do is take a look at her. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at her YouTube channel, look at her YouTube presence and things like that, as well as her Twitch presence. And whoops, turn down the DPI on the mouse. I don't know why I even have a setting for like 8,000 DPI if I'm not playing a Battlefield game. I remember back in the day, I used to have to swing the tank turrets and whatnot, and it would have been much cooler if I could have set DPI for that game back in those days. Wouldn't have been nice if we had these modern conveniences in the 2000s, but that's another story entirely. So yeah, she streams on Twitch. I have no idea why she even follows me. I think she followed me because I responded with something snarky to one of Zach Bussey's posts. You don't know who Zach Bussey is. Zach Bussey also has a YouTube channel as well, but he's also a Twitch streamer who does commentaries and stuff about, it's called Today on Stream, and he does commentaries and stuff about streamer-related news and stories and things like that. It's basically a chat stream. He's an afternoon guy, so I don't get to tune in a lot because I'm night shift. So I think one of my responses, next thing I know, she's following me on Twitter, and I really have no idea why. We're very, very, very different people. Even our stream times. I mean, she's a daytime streamer. I usually do stuff at night. It's like light side, dark side. If we ever did a collab, knowing people on the internet the way I do, how they love to connect dots that aren't there and all kinds of other crap, I could totally imagine someone calling it like a version of like Raylo or something, where you have two polar opposites that for some reason doing something together. If anyone implies romance, they're completely wrong, by the way. She's getting married. So, fellas, stop with your conspiracy theories and crap like that. I don't even know why she's even following me, though. There are some very, 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 very notable differences. First off, with how we handle others, our views on the world are probably extremely different. Our views on people are probably extremely different. And our views on how to handle others are probably extremely different as well. Plus, she plays The Sims. Listen, for those of you who don't know about the Sims scene on Twitch, there's an entire scene of people who use The Sims as architecture software. They're not even playing the game. They're going into the edit mode that you use to like set up houses for your Sims to live in, and they're using it as like an interior design thing. It's one of those weird things that happens in gaming, kind of like Grand Theft Auto RP, like GTA RP, Grand Theft Auto Roleplay, where people make their own fun using a feature in a game that the developers probably didn't think could take off on its own. It makes me wonder, what if EA made a game that was like The Sims, but you were actually just building houses instead? think like a video game answer to HGTV or something, House Hunters or something, or those renovation shows that you see on TV or something along those lines. If there was a video game that was just that, with all these Sims players out there basically commandeering the Sims in order to serve that purpose, I'm sure that a game like that could sell about as well as a Grand Theft Auto inspired game that was made primarily for role playing. Modern RPG, basically, or something along those lines. Not always needing a fantasy or a sci-fi setting, but just some kind of cynical, snarky game that resembles real life that could be used for what GTA RP is used for today. So The Sims and everything. Yeah, I tried. The Sims is one of those games that I've been making fun of for a very long time. Another big difference. Why the heck does she even follow me other than my goofball sense of humor? I don't know. But The Sims, the OG Sims in like 2001 or whenever the heck it came out, was one of those games where if somebody played The Sims, they were probably into soap operas or something, because it's like, I guess people back then viewed it as like the grown-up version of playing with dolls. It's like a dollhouse type thing where, oh, look, the wife is home from work, the husband's mowing the lawn, blah, blah, blah. The husband going out, getting a promotion at his job. The kids are going off to school. It's like exactly the kind of game that, nosy people who watch soap operas would be into. And then The Sims 2 came along, and I was like, okay, let's see what the heck this is about. I got into it for a bit, but there's only so many times you can just sit back and watch dumb AI attempt to have a constructive life in that kind of environment before you're like, I've had enough of this, I'm gonna move on. So I can't make fun of Sims players too much because I've played The Sims 2 and I've actually bought several of the expansion packs, so I have them all on CD. That's how far back we're going. So I used to, there was what, Sims 2 Season, Sims 2 College University, Sims 2 Nightlife. I made a joke about how at some point EA would come out with Sims 2 taking a dump on the side of the road. They seem to be making expansions of just about everything. And the thing is, this is one of the big reasons why I'm not a fan of Sims games anymore, because I know the expansion packs, quote unquote, are just going to add features to the game to the point where you really don't feel like you're playing a complete game until you have all the expansion packs. So you pay for the base game, and then you have to buy a whole bunch of expansion packs just to have things like pets, kids going to college, nightlife, blah, 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 seasons even. How many expansion packs for Sims games should have been a baseline feature? And it just felt like they released a tenth of the game when it came out, and then they gradually worked their way through all the expansion packs you're paying like $10, $20, $30 a pop for, until they finally have a complete game when the game's obsolete and they've moved on to the next Sims game. It's just like, is it worth it? It's like DVDs and Netflix. People binge watching shows. Is it, do you really want to keep waiting for the next episode to come out? Or do you want to blow off the TV show when it's doing its run and then just binge watch it when it comes to Netflix? I mean, that way you just sit there and just boom, 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 story, get all the story in one shot instead of having to wait a week between every episode. Do you really want a situation? Yeah, I'm getting some itchy nonsense in here because of the low humidity. Hey, it's summer and I don't want it to feel like a sticky mess in here. 40-something% humidity, whatever. So, yeah, The Sims feels like the sort of thing that EA would pull too, where you release like a tenth of the game as the base game, and then you release expansions after the fact that add features that you hear about it like, oh, The Sims this, The Sims that, and you're like, that should have just been in the darn game when you released it. I think some people out there would rather buy $100 game than a $60 game with a bunch of $20 expansion packs that come out over the course of years and get a complete game experience. Because, in The Sims 2, for example, you have characters jumping from adolescence to adulthood without the college phase. Then now you do. I mean, it's just kind of, if you get attached to your characters, like in an RPG or something, and you're interested in their stories, well, now you have to basically pretend for every character you had that went to college before the college expansion pack came out. So yeah, The Sims. I make fun of it, but if I reinstall Origin, The Sims, I think it was 3 or 4 or whatever, was free to play. So I have played a more recent Sims game when it was free to play. I'm not getting caught up in that racket again. You know what? Let's look it up. Let me just look it up real quick. Pop open a browser. We got a couple of them open anyways. Let's pop open a browser and look at the latest Sims game. And what were the expansion packs? So, okay, The Sims 4 expansion packs. What are they called these days? Buy The Sims 4 expansion packs, an official EA site that I am muting right now. Okay, listen, tell me we're not wandering towards Oblivion horse armor with DLC like this. The Sims 4 Cottage Living. Feed your soul and your chickens. The Sims 4 Snowy Escape. The Sims 4 Discover University. Another college expansion. The Sims 4 Eco Lifestyle. If your character is an environmentalist, it's a whole nother expansion pack. The Sims 4 Get Famous. The Sims 4 Island Living. The Sims 4 Seasons. The Sims 4 Cats and Dogs. The Sims 4 City Living. The Sims 4 Get Together. How much do these cost? Let's look at cats and dogs. How much does it cost to add cats and dogs to the expansion pack? Requires the Sims 4 game. Maybe I should open up Steam. No, it would have to be Origin. PC download. How would you like to play? I want to play it through Steam. The Sims is on Steam? It is on Steam. Okay. The Sims 4 is $40. The Digital Deluxe is $50. Bundle info. If I buy, can we get it not bundled? That's the question here. Price of individual products. Oh, Sims 4 Cats and Dogs. $40. Buy the Sims 4 Cats and Dogs for $40 for adding cats and dogs to The Sims. It's like, enough. This is why I don't play The Sims. It's EA. This is EA we're talking about here. I thought Oblivion horse armor was bad, but holy crap. $40 for cats and dogs. Are you kidding me? Maybe I'm an idiot. I don't know as much about The Sims as I should, but I remember this crap from Sims 2, and Sims 2 was a long time ago. Sims 2 is the reason why I don't play Sims games, because when you're buying your 5th or 6th expansion pack to the same darn game, and it's nearly the cost of a full game, and it's not something like, say, Elder Scrolls Online, where you're buying a whole new landmass, new systems, new character classes, a big expansion of an MMO. If you're talking paying $40 for pets to be added to your Sims game, that starts feeling like you're getting nickeled and dimed. I'm sorry. So, wow, that's quite a tangent about The Sims. But I'm just trying to illustrate. Sometimes in life, and I think this is part of what's in play here with this whole Flufffymonkey thing. Sometimes in life, in order to not be a total echo chamber in and of yourself, it's good to try and figure out people who have some very, very significant differences from you. So that way you're not totally naive about other types of people out there in this world. And I think the whole situation with Braelyn is exactly that. I don't know. Maybe she feels the same way. Who knows? Maybe I'm significantly different from the stuff she likes to do in terms of streaming. And so it's the same way. Like, what the heck's wrong with this guy? Number one, he's old. Number two, he's fat. Number three, he thinks he's going to get an audience, usually streaming after midnight, doesn't even have a regular stream schedule, and he's obsessed with YouTube. What the heck is the matter with this guy? So it's just one of those things, you know? It's just one of those things where every so often something weird happens, like, you know, maybe you find you actually get along with someone with some really, really serious differences. And you're wondering how the heck does that work? All right. So the main thing we're going to talk about tonight as we test out this Logitech G build with certain features turned off that are redundant to OBS. The main thing we're going to talk about tonight is Twitch streamers coming over to YouTube. So if you start out on Twitch, now I'm trying to scroll to the top of the windows that I have open here. If you're trying to scroll, and I pause this thing too so it doesn't interfere with the stream. If you're trying to scroll to the top, if you start out on Twitch and you come over to YouTube, there's a lot that's in play, and a lot of it has to do with things like what the meta commentators out there are talking about, which is one of the reasons why I used Streambeat Synthwave Hachi Roku as my opener music for today's discussion. Because I think I'm going to use that when I'm talking about the multimedia meta, the way things are going with online media across all of these platforms. I mean, we just saw that thing earlier today where people are talking about creators and streamers as though they have to be separate from each other. The truth of the matter is, as YouTube develops as a platform and takes on Twitch and TikTok at the same time via expansions into streaming and short form stuff, the idea of being a streamer is fast turning into a social construct that is completely artificial and only exists on Twitch. If you got into this kind of stuff through Twitch, you're going to be biased, and you're going to have, let's see here. You're going to come into you're going to come into YouTube, and you're not going to be in the same starting point as people that just started on YouTube in the first place. So we have this kind of stuff going on here. Even though YouTube has been around longer, Twitch has some very, very, very powerful marketing. They're incredibly good at selling their brand big time to impressionable people. Who are those people? The younger millennials. People who graduated. Twitch, in a sense, is as big as it is because they got lucky. Kind of like a lot of big streamers out there who happen to be in the right place at the right time, streaming the right game at the right time. And they just happen to have the personality and the drive and the characteristics to keep their success going, while others would fizzle in the same position. You know, success is often a combination. Success is very often a combination of what you do. Success is very often a combination of what you do and what you say, what you can control and what you can't control. And the stuff that you can't control matters quite a bit. So your looks, for example, a lot of people complain the pretty girls stole all my views on Twitch. Yes, they're going to. Yes, of course. It's called visual media. You're going to be it's called visual media, being photogenic. I bet any money that this stream, you know, me being older and fat and gray hair and crap like that, probably would be a lot more appealing if I just left it on this all the time and I was just off in the corner and you were looking at my settings for Logitech G processing the audio. I'll bet any money to some people out there they'd like this better than me actually, you know, mugshotting it like this. And my original camera was not very good at, you know, mugshotting like this. It actually was very, very slow shutter speed, looked like a webcam, wasn't all that great. So you have a situation on your hands here where it's visual media, it's going to be photogenic. People who look good on camera are going to do better than people who don't. People who act better on camera are going to do better than people who don't. This goes back over half a century. If you want a really early example of this from the early history of television, look at that textbook example of the Kennedy-Nixon presidential debates of 1960. John F. Kennedy handled TV a heck of a lot better than Richard Nixon did. And he looked better on camera, too. Younger, you know, more handsome and whatnot, and a lot less nervous about being on camera at a time when television was new. And its impact hadn't yet been seen yet in terms of how it impacts people, in terms of how you act when you're on camera and when you're on TV. That was a new thing back then. So, I mean, the archival footage is still out there. It's going to look like a broadcast from 1960, but you think about it as a pivotal moment when looks first started really mattering with a very important national political issue here in the United States. It's the sort of thing that, you know, you're like, yeah, well, this is the ancestor of what we have today, where you can have people getting views and viewers just because of their looks, just because of the image they project, and just because of how good they look on camera. So your ability to do well is highly based on things you can control, a mix of things you can control and things you can't control. Now let's talk about what happens with Twitch when you're a Twitch streamer. So if you're a younger millennial, you graduated high school in, say, 2008, 2009, or later, you graduated into the recession. No jobs. Some people may be more open to alternative careers because of the terrible environment that they graduated into. It wasn't a situation like it was for other people where you just go get a job somewhere and start working on building your life up. But for the people that first started to try and find their footing in the heydays of the Great Recession, little did people know there'd be this much of an emphasis on alternative careers, so to speak, like people wanting to become YouTubers for a living or people wanting to become streamers for a living when that became a thing. Justin TV was a thing back then, who knows? But the idea of becoming a full-time YouTuber was definitely something on the minds of a lot of people as people found success on the internet when they couldn't find success in an environment with no jobs. And if you had a job, you're at very high probability of getting laid off for some dumb reason, as companies used the financial crisis and the resulting damage afterwards as an excuse to treat people like garbage. Nowadays, it's a very different world. You have an environment where people are rediscovering their own worth and companies are finding out what it's like to drive so many people away you can barely keep your business running because people don't want to work for you. It's a different environment than it was back then. And so with that, you have a situation where, I mean, if you need extra money, just get a part-time job somewhere. Now, the idea of being a full-time content creator looks worse now than it did back then, because since then we've had things like the adpocalypse, the development of ads, and the complexity of dealing with sponsors and other stuff. You're not just going to be streaming video games all day. There's going to be a whole element of business work that you're going to have to deal with. There's going to be a whole element of business work that you're going to have to deal with just to keep what you're doing going, because companies are going to be contacting you, things along those lines. You have to not get ripped off or scammed or anything of that sort as well. So, I mean, a lot of the big streamers that look like they have it easy pretty much don't. There's a huge set of problems of being incredibly popular as a streamer. People trying to, bring down your stream or get you banned or whatever is one thing. Problems with your privacy could be another thing. And then there's the business side of it. Someone decides they don't like you because you looked at the camera funny, and now they're cancel culturing you with your sponsors. So and then they make this big hullabaloo on Twitter, create this giant mob that's mad at you, and then they go off to one of your sponsors and say, why do you do business with this person? We're not buying your products anymore, even if they never bought their products to begin with. So it's a whole mess nowadays. Then there's demonetization, and how about that lovely thing that both YouTube and Twitch have had problems with? Things not working right. A false positive in a copyright system or community guidelines system. Some automated system that's not working right. How about YouTube glitches with revenue, where you're not getting credit for revenue you're earning until a couple of days later, which might mean you miss a payday or whatnot if you would have otherwise gotten over the threshold in time. Now you have to wait another month. How about your channel getting erroneously demonetized by an automated system that's not working correctly? So you have all of these uncertainties nowadays versus get a job. Not hard. Could be the dumbest job in the world. It's going to pay more than it did a couple of years ago because the labor market conditions. Why would you want to be a full-time content creator? Especially knowing that being a full-time content creator will impact your ability to be creative because now you have to pay your bills with the stuff that you create. That limits your creativity and your options. And you have to do certain things in order to hold on to sponsors, in order to do this, in order to do that, in order to keep the ad revenue coming in. And even then, with the experimental nature of how all this works, especially on YouTube, you could still lose it all because of something beyond your control. So why put up with that when there's readily available jobs that local businesses can't fill? You could just be someone who comes and goes like anyone else. You work, get a couple of checks out of the deal, and maybe go on to something else, or get your time back because you want to do more YouTube videos or something along those lines. But it's a different world than it was during the times of the recession. Some of Twitch's success, though, is because of this idea floating around. Oh, maybe I can be the next ninja. Do you want to be the next ninja? That's the thing. In today's world, do you really want to be a big content creator who's so prone to all of these dumb little things that can deprive you of your livelihood? I mean, how's that any better than a job where you can get fired on the spot for a really stupid reason? I mean, if online media is not any better than other jobs, then what's the point? This is why I say there's probably going to be a revenge of part-time content creators who have jobs and stuff that are doing this stuff in their spare time. Now that the luster, so to speak, of being a full-time content creator isn't what it used to be. The idea of being a full-time content creator and it being this amazing thing was more of a thing during the recession than it is now. It's a very different world out there. And so part of Twitch's success is because people were chasing after this dream. But in an environment where you can just do stuff on the side, or you can just have, you know, grab a job somewhere to get more money or work extra hours or something, and that's a lot easier to get more money doing that, even if it's dumb and stupid, you don't like what you're doing for a living. A lot easier to do that than it is to build up a channel on any of these platforms with all this SEO in play and the algorithms constantly getting changed and the TOS getting changed behind your back, which is getting videos demonetized, or you get strikes against your account because you didn't know some policy had changed somewhere along the line because you're not nerding. Oh, excuse me, you're a content creator. You're busy making stuff instead of nerding it out on Twitch's blog or something to stay on top of the latest policy developments. Yeah. Twitch is what it is because of the conditions that it grew in. The long, dragged out recovery after the Great Recession and what that did to people's YouTube things along those lines. So you have all of this going on. And people have these ideas in their head. And these ideas fundamentally change YouTube. What did YouTube start out as? Basically what I'm doing right now. Sharing what's on my mind in front of a camera. It just was a video instead of a stream. So this was a thing for a while. And then it was something else. CBS showed up on YouTube and had a channel, and people were like, what the heck is CBS doing here? The commercial stuff showed up, the SOPs showed up, and nowadays, the algorithms showed up. And with that, and with the mystery of how these systems operate, which YouTube doesn't want to talk about a lot of the time because they don't want to give people a way to game the system, you have these people showing up who try to fill in the dots for people and scratch the itching ears, so to speak. There's certain things that people want to hear. The officials aren't telling them what they want to hear, so somebody else comes out of the woodwork and comes up with something. It doesn't matter if it's right or not. People hear it and they like it and they believe it. Like using YouTube to grow a Twitch stream. And this is the #1 thing that I recommend that Braelyn not do on YouTube. Don't use YouTube as a way of growing a Twitch stream. Hold Twitch accountable for the lack of support for their content creators and the lack of investment in after-the-fact video. So here's the thing. Those of us who are here on YouTube will binge watch videos. We'll follow, subscribe to channels. If we don't like the way that the subscription system is treating those channels, we'll bookmark those channels. We want to just come in here and watch stuff. YouTube has recently expanded into streaming. Sometimes people have chat streams going, but it's not like on Twitch where literally everything you do has to be twisted into being stream friendly. Everything doesn't revolve around when you're live, not even the streams. As I've seen from, low concurrence when I stream, but the views pop up later on because people watch them like videos because I cater to this sort of thing. I'll make a stream that sounds like a radio show, and then people tune in afterwards when they need something to listen to. In my case, with people that do this stuff, I'll often listen to their shows after the fact. When playing like Elder Scrolls Online, getting daily quests done or something, I'll turn down the game volume, play something in the background instead for the grindier parts of the game. And you imagine there might be people that play this stuff on their phones when they're commuting to work or something. They need something to listen to, something along those lines. The bottom line is it's a very different dynamic when you're not a streamer, and you're a content creator. The whole idea of being a streamer, as far as I'm concerned, in today's day and age, limits you. Just like Twitch has decided to deliberately limit themselves by focusing on live, not looking at their own video features. You can upload something to Twitch when you're an affiliate. Good luck having it do anything. Not a lot of good support for it after it's uploaded, including finding it and whatnot and trying to watch it, things along those lines. So Twitch, they're sitting on potential, though, because one of the problems with YouTube right now is out of control mid-rolls with the advertising system. A lot of the ads that are sold on YouTube are auctioned off and they're skippables. Problem is, when you want to listen to somebody's show and whatnot, and you get some gigantic video as an ad in the middle of your viewing experience, whereas on Twitch, the ads are clamped down to a specific time length only. So Twitch could be a pretty decent video platform for after the fact stuff. So Twitch, they could do better, but they don't. The problem is, by doing this, they're freezing themselves in a time period when being a streamer was more attractive than it is now. Who wants to be a streamer and have hours of your life eaten up, having to lose those very specific hours of your life every single whatever in order to maintain any audience, if you can even get an audience, especially in today's environment? 2020 was a real game changer for streaming because everybody now has gear. All the people that had to work from home, sit at home, school from home, remote, Zoom meetings, things like that, they have some rudimentary gear now that can be used for streaming. Gear is plentiful and available, and it's not very expensive. Walmart, for example, sells those smart bulbs that I turn blue for this theme and whatnot, and then turn them back to regular bulbs for using them as house lights. The ones in the top are daylight for the light mode recording of YouTube videos, but I don't really use them for that anymore. It's something that they don't really get a lot of usage anymore because I just do everything in dark mode now with special lights to light up subjects and things like that. So that way the landlord's paint color doesn't really factor into things much anymore because of the way the lighting works around here. So one of the problems with this house, for those of you that don't follow my channel, which, by the way, click subscribe. Those of you that don't follow my channel on here, this house is more neutral white, but it's ivory colored, so a little on the yellowish side. Not as yellow as the last place I was in that was actually beige, and then the paint faded to yellow while I was there. But it's still just a little bit too yellow to really use as a good background. And some of my videos from 2016 and 2017 kind of show this from time to time. It's just ivory yellow, so a little on the ivory white. So it's white, but a little on the yellow side. Not too good for recording YouTube videos. And with smart lighting that's readily available, where I can buy those bulbs for like a couple bucks a bulb, or buy a 2-pack for like a couple of bucks or something. The cost of these things has come down. These smart lights has come down to the point where pretty much anyone can have a setup. To say nothing of LED strips and little 5-volt lights that could run off of smartphone charger boxes and all kinds of other stuff. So the bottom line here is that this is the progress of multimedia. That's been a thing the whole time I've been doing this YouTube thing. Stuff that used to be limited, expensive, and used by the pros has been consumerized, made affordable, and made available, sometimes without the drops in quality you would expect from the drop in price. So you have a situation today, where anybody can be a streamer. So, the people that are successful are probably going to try and hang on to their audience now, because they better hang on to it for dear life, because they're probably not getting another one if they try to grow their channel again. Which is why it's interesting that we live in a world where Ninja, for example, has dwindled down from his Fortnite days to having less concurrence than some of the streamers I watch, who've never been names that the mainstream media has ever talked about in terms of big gaming celebrities and stuff like that. So just the thing, if he ever decides to change his mind on that, he better like a small devoted audience, because I don't think he's going to be a like 5-digit streamer ever again. Maybe if he got into the right event or the right collab, he could get that. But if he doesn't stick with it, he's not going to maintain it. And I don't think anybody is. I don't think anybody's going to be. Yeah, I mean, XQC is what he is. But what are his numbers lately? I'll bet he hangs out with 5 digits. Let me check Sully Gnome here. I bet he hangs out on 5 digits a lot. But don't forget, he also has a leg up over a lot of the rest of us because he's a former professional Overwatch player. 365 days on Sully Gnome. Once this loads, we know this can be yeah, he's had his ups and downs over the last 365 days, but more recently some downs. But I mean, he has found ways to grow because he can top categories easily on Twitch and get his name out there a lot more. But he actually has lost some progress. He's lost a year's worth of progress with whatever's been going on recently. SullyGnome.com, type in XQCOW and take a look at the graphs for yourself if you want, if you're anywhere near contemporary to this whole thing. But that's the thing. I mean, the idea of being a streamer is not as glamorous as it used to be. And as YouTube and Facebook continue to develop, that's going to continue being the case. So it's about being a content creator more than anything else. And at some point, people have to realize that the whole streamer thing, it was a thing for the Twitch era of the late 2010s. It's not going to survive very long now that YouTube and Facebook have more robust offerings for people, especially Facebook growing as a streaming platform. They're growing with gaming right now, but what's to say that they won't merge Facebook gaming with Facebook Live later on and just allow for live streaming on Facebook, no matter what it is? I mean, they're growing as a platform. They're growing as a platform, even though they're the smallest. So the biggest problem is they don't have enough of an audience for the people that they're encouraging to be streamers. But I think the future of Facebook gaming is Facebook gaming and Facebook Live get merged. So whether it's gaming or not, streaming is this big unified thing on Facebook along with watching videos. So it's kind of a back path to chasing after YouTube without drawing the ire of Google here. But while Facebook is going down this path, what is Twitch doing? Yeah, so a little surprised that we have a situation where I have a Twitch streamer who, can joke around with me about some things here and there. I have a Twitch streamer who I can have a conversation with and whatnot. One of the few Twitch streamers who I can actually have conversations with. So, I have a Twitch streamer who I can have conversations with and stuff like that, who gets curious about TikTok. And I go and I joke and I'm like, TikTok is the starting point to being a YouTuber. And she's like, no, it isn't. Well, now she's asking me about YouTube. All right, let's take a look at some of the channels here. Let's take a look at some of her channels here. Let's go over to Firefox and look at her YouTube presence and whatnot. Well, we have to begin on Twitch. We have to begin on Twitch where it is here. So let's see here. Well, we do have to begin on Twitch. So I think the Firefox is linked up. Let's minimize live control room so it doesn't accidentally get linked up here and link the browser here. Link the browser here to Braelyn's Twitch page, Flufffymonkey on Twitch. Worth a follow, by the way. She streams during the day. So, and she has very bright, cheery setup, does like mental health Mondays and things along those lines. So this is where it all started. This is where it all started here. So yeah, she does like chat streams and some gaming streams as well, but she's curious about making YouTube videos. Now, if we go over to Firefox here, that's not exactly the ratio that I'm looking for. Well, let's just fix this. I was using this for something else earlier. So let's just set this back to what it was here. Alt key. These pudding keycaps take some getting used to. So I unsubbed from her channel so I could get the, let's take off the bar while we're at it. We don't need the address bar in there. Whoops. Those are the alerts. I want to shrink Firefox down to get so it can be total dark mode. Yeah, and then let's put the browser towards the middle here, so it can be complete and total dark mode, just the way I like it. Yeah, it is kind of light side, dark side with our respective styles. All right, so I unsubbed, and yeah, so is this her Twitch channel trailer, or maybe an old Twitch channel trailer from a while ago? So yeah, it's recycling stuff over on YouTube is not really that great of an idea, because you're talking about a situation where it's different on YouTube. And why don't we just go over that before we really get into these channels here? So biggest difference between Twitch and YouTube. The difference between Twitch and YouTube is Twitch is based on streaming. Streaming is based on being live. There's a tie to a time slot and things like that. And also, most importantly, you can't plan or edit. It's whatever happens, happens. YouTube does have an editor that lets you cut out the boring bits from a stream, but it's still going to be a badly edited video when you're done with it versus somebody that can really get some production material involved, some transitions and some formats and some other stuff. If all you're doing is cutting the dull bits out of a stream, it's still not going to be as well put together as a video that was created from scratch. There are some narrative-driven videos by folks like Mad Season and Greenham Gaming that are some really good examples of just how a good YouTube channel can not even upload frequently on a regular basis, but still have an audience and a fan base that follows everything they upload because they know it's always going to be good and worth tuning in for. So let's see. One of the biggest issues, though, as you can probably guess, if we switch back to the Firefox here, is the name. Flufffymonkey with 3 F's. So if you say it out loud and you go searching, you're going to get a whole bunch of other channels besides your channel. So by and large, one of the biggest problems with finding your YouTube channel in the first place is that you have to go to the Twitch channel in order to get to it. Now, we know Twitch has problems with searchability, discoverability, etc. So if you are gating essentially your ability to find a YouTube channel via a Twitch channel, that's extra steps, extra clicks, and all kinds of other things that are going to get in the way of the YouTube channel's growth here. The other thing, too, is that people on YouTube know that there are Twitch streamers taking the advice of some of these gurus who, as we mentioned before, are filling in the gaps on stuff that doesn't really have any answers for, because people want answers they can't get from YouTube. And they're saying, yeah, make YouTube videos to grow your Twitch stream. There's a whole bunch of things that fly in the face of that, such as people not liking to make extra clicks. So they're going to want to see everything in one place. They're not going to want to be constantly bouncing between sites. It's just the way people are. Your fans who like everything you do, will do this, but not people that haven't yet joined that group as of yet. So gating this channel behind having to go to Twitch for it, because I don't even think, hold on a second, just in case something weird pops up on the screen. YouTube.com/channel/ let me get rid of the random numbers in there and type Flufffymonkey with 3 F's. Typo it on purpose. Nope, I get a 404. No, there you go. See, yep. So you can't search for it that way either. You can't do channel Flufffymonkey. You can't get response. You can't find the channel that way. So if you don't know the Twitch, thing, or you mess up the spelling or something like that, can't do user either, and you can't do YouTube. You can't do YouTube.com/Flufffymonkey either. You keep getting the 404 monkey with the magnifying glass. So that's part of the issue. That's part of the issue with the YouTube channel in its current form. Also part of the issue with the name as well. She says she has it on the various places she has an online presence and whatnot, but that's part of the issue here, is just the name and everything that's in play. All right, so let's take a look at some of the videos. Let's take a look at some of the videos that were on here from previously. We start to see video catalog. We start to see some of the differences here between stuff that's more personal and stuff that's more related to The Sims. So, will I ever beat my sister at Mario Kart? Look at the view count differences. So we see here that there is a build video for The Sims 4, and there's something else as well. Let's look at these previews here. Oh, this one doesn't have one yet. Interesting. But you can see this one right over here for, I think it's like a speed build or something, but ties to The Sims 4 Zen View apartment. There's another one as well, things like that. So the differences in the views here is something that even the YouTube folks will tell you. Is there another one? Yeah, there's more of these down here with like some of these build videos and stuff. You see the difference in the views between stream highlights and stuff that's more created, stuff that's more topical in nature. This is the thing. What's that? Are these really the world's most comfortable gaming headset? Let's find out. So a couple of different things on here, obviously. So, playing Among Us even. So, what was this? Is this a Twitch VOD as is? Yes. No, that's part of the issue there. So Twitch streams and replays, as they're called over here, have a much harder time getting views because if you have to watch a certain percentage of the video for it to register, it's a lot longer with a stream than it is with videos. But looking at some of these Sims videos, it looks like the Sims videos could actually get hundreds of views right off the bat and be held back largely by the problems with the name and things along those lines. But what we have here, let me just play one with the tab muted. I just want to see, is it anything resembling a stream? Let me just click through the ad here. Yeah, we could go into React mode for this too. That's probably something. Yeah, I just want to make sure there's nothing TOS in here. This looks like a time lapse of sorts. Put Firefox back on the screen. This looks like a time lapse video of building something in The Sims, so not even any commentary thing. So the thing is, she gets away from, yep, straight up building and things along those lines. So she gets away, yeah, she gets away from the stream format entirely for videos like this that get more views. And this really shows the topical nature of YouTube and stuff along those lines, where if you make something that people can binge watch or watch after the fact and whatnot, then it will get views at some point later on. Let's see. She tried a YouTube Shorts and things like that. They have their own playlist. Ah, this tells me a little something too. They have their own playlist, but the one where she puts herself in the thumbnail has done the worst. So this is showing, we're talking Sims fans here who may not be as interested in her stream at all that are probably showing up for these videos, as opposed to the crossover audience from Twitch in some of the other stuff. Interesting. But this is it. I mean, you're talking about you're talking a search engine here with the way things work with this kind of stuff. So it may be the case that you shouldn't even be in the thumbnail if it's a certain thing that people can look for. And the thing is, too, the algorithms may not know what to do with our pictures because we're just individuals. They may know what to do with what looks like video game screenshots or something that's not so tied to an individual. So that's something really to consider here. Mental health, how to stop thinking and talking negatively about yourself. I might check that out later. Playlists as well. Shorts, uploads, Sims 4 speed builds. I guess, oh, she does voiceovers in there too. Okay. Right. So that's really the thing. Taking a look at some of her social media channels in terms of building up the YouTube presence and things like that. She's running into some of the issues with YouTube right off the bat, but fundamentally, this is a conceptual thing that is in play here, and that is quite simply that YouTube is a very different beast from Twitch, but there's also some cynicism among people who watch YouTube the most, where they're curious, where they don't really care about Twitch. And since the word is getting around that people know that there are Twitch streamers out there with throwaway YouTube channels that they're not going to care about because some guru somewhere told them make a YouTube channel in order to grow a Twitch stream, make some videos you don't care about. People can find out very quickly if you don't care about something you're working on. That's part of the issue. People can and will find out when you're not passionate. They can and will find out when you don't care about something that you have on your channel. And the content will suffer as a result of that. So let me just go over my responses without putting the DMs on the screen. Let me go over my responses from earlier, because I think a lot of this is probably something that would be good to talk about here. So she shows up, she's like, hey, I'm working on perhaps starting YouTube. Well, picking up on YouTube anyways. So Twitch VODs are subject to the limitations of live streaming. Depends on how much of a structured show your original stream was in terms of how well it competes with videos that can be scripted. YouTube is not really devoted to streaming the same way Twitch is. VODs have a harder time getting views because of the percent rule. Now let's talk thumbnails. If you want to play a thumbnail game or you want to play a metadata game, don't bother. Number one thing I see people lose YouTube channels for and go complaining on Twitter about it is spam, scams, and deceptive content. Make stuff that you like. Make stuff that you want to make, not stuff that you feel like you have to make. And that's really the only stuff that fundamentally will turn into the only stuff that you end up sticking with. Because you run into these people they usually run afoul of some policy and whatnot when they go overboard with trying to twist people's arms to get them to watch. Thumbnails are known for getting people's attention to get them to want to click on it and watch your video. But people are getting burnt out on that, and there's technological ways around that, like on PC with the mouse over previews. If you have a neon thumbnail with your mug, bright orange, and whatever, and some of the pictures of what's in there, and it looks like a PowerPoint slide gone wrong, but someone can mouse over and see you're just sitting in your room talking and like holding the thing in your hand, well, that destroys the thumbnail and the how seriously someone should take your thumbnails very, very quickly. Quite frankly, I've actually seen higher click-through rates on the stuff I have with the worst thumbnails or no attempt at a thumbnail at all. Why? Because people were interested in the topic. So it was based on the title and the description. The thumbnail was just window dressing or whatever. It was just glossy, like frosting on the cake. Not the cake itself. Can be kind of sweet sometimes, but it's just an extra. Thumbnails are mostly for folks not already following your channel, but it's a balancing act these days because people are learning how to tune out wild and crazy thumbnails. So, I mean, there's some channels that, you know, have really young audiences that, you know, like, you won't believe what happens with blah, blah, blah. But by and large, the thumbnail thing is blown over at this point. It's, you know, thumbnails are kind of like cover art on a DVD or something. You know, it's this sort of thing where you want to be descriptive and look nice, and maybe people will watch if it's good enough. But you don't want to twist people's arms. You know, you don't want to look like, say, Weekly World News or something. You won't believe this wild story we have here. And stuff like that. You'll very quickly see if you have wild neon thumbnails, but it's just you sitting in a room talking. Tags, borderline deprecated. Couldn't even search for my own videos on my own channel. Searching for things that I knew were in the tags. Title and description is what it's all about these days. And let's talk about SEO while we're at it. If you're just trying to get people to watch your videos, you don't really care. That's reason enough. I mean, people can go to all kinds of channels and get that, and it's probably going to be better. If people don't care about you and they just want to watch videos, they can go to BuzzFeed or something. You know, they can go to Fail Army for videos of people like tripping and, you know, falling or whatever. They can go to prank channels. They can go to very big channels that are part of commercial productions with teams and all kinds of other stuff involved. So that's really the thing here. I mean, if you get in on the same game as successful channels, you're just a crappier version of them. Nobody has any reason to take you seriously because you haven't given them a reason to do so. So, and then there's the format, the whole thing, like bugging people to subscribe every single video and having a gigantic call to action that's 20% of the video. Boy, isn't that a good impression on the people watching your videos when they know they can always click away at 80% because it'll always be a nagging, annoying call to action for the last 20% of the video, so they never see your end screens because you're all, you know, there'll be like in-video advertising or a word for your sponsor or whatever. So people are getting burnt out on that. Plus, another thing too, and this is one of the big reasons why I'm not a fan of in-video advertising, is that YouTube is for the long haul. There are people out there that will be enjoying your video. If you make a good video on YouTube, there's people out there that are going to enjoy it for years afterwards. You don't want in-video advertising to not age well and make the video a meme after a couple of years. It's too time sensitive, and what YouTube is good at is what Twitch is not good at. The long haul. Twitch is better and streaming is better for time-sensitive stuff. YouTube, the long haul. Making something. Twitch is the live gigs. YouTube is the studio albums. It's just that YouTubers have the same navel-gazing problems as Twitch streamers. We get too used to this platform, and we start viewing the world as if everything out there is like YouTube, and that's just not the case. There's a very hard counter to the YouTube SOPs. It's out there, and it's popular, and it has inspired an entire industry, just like YouTube. It's called Netflix. You watch movies on Netflix, you binge watch movies and TV shows and whatnot. You're not watching something that's made according to some SOP to get you to subscribe every single time. You're watching something that a work of art, something that the director, the producer, etc. wanted to exist. It is less fluff, more stuff. Let's see here. Do you have any advice for getting started? I want to expand upon TikToks because I do tutorials and stuff that could be longer form. Well, TikToks are basically 1 minute and whatnot, but even YouTube, I mean, you have the full-size screen. You have the full-size screen and other stuff, but YouTube is good for topical stuff. You have your full-size screen, you have longer lengths instead of 1 minute or something. Now, how important is quality? Well, there's my jokes about the $700 DSLRs that everybody uses these days. There's too much of an emphasis on having a good camera instead of making good stuff. But that's really it. Should I have an upload schedule? Not on YouTube. That's a guarantee that you'll end up with lower quality videos. Because if you're talking about something that people could watch for years and years and years afterwards, you don't want to release it just because it's Monday and it's video release day. That's a streaming thing. If you're streaming and everybody has to know when to be there in order to watch your stream, that's one thing. But videos, it's about the notification or people finding it. And the time window for that can be huge. There's some people that don't watch my videos when they first go live, but you'll see the views pop up later on when they get around to it. Maybe they don't have time, you don't know their schedule, but videos have a level of freedom that streaming does not. Things that will hurt you as a streamer, like, for example, not being able to maintain a consistent schedule, will actually help you as a video creator when it doesn't really matter when you upload, but every time you upload, it's always good. People know they can count on that. So they subscribe and they ring the bell. Then they just catch whatever you have when you release it. Kind of the same way that people grow to like certain movie directors, and they'll always want to see like the latest Steven Spielberg movie or something. Because no matter how infrequently it is, they know it's always going to be something good. That's something they've come to expect from whoever's making these things. So, are there any details I might have missed? We've gone over the channel. We've gone over some other stuff. It's almost 7 o'clock at the Geek House, so we've got some laundry to work on and things along those lines. But yeah, Tubesplainin, that's a parody of mansplaining. I was hoping it wouldn't be too offensive, but yeah, so Twitch streamers coming to YouTube. Let's be blunt. Respect the platform on its own merits. Don't come over to YouTube and expect to use YouTube as a stepping stone to a bigger Twitch stream, because YouTube doesn't need that. YouTube doesn't need Twitch. Maybe Twitch sends official guidance to partners to, make YouTube videos for discoverability as a crutch, so to speak, but YouTube doesn't need Twitch. You can stream on YouTube. And there's no emphasis on concurrence either, so you're not going for like a affiliate goal or a partner goal or anything of that sort. I really think, though, this is one of those things where if I talk about coming from Twitch to YouTube, it would be better off as a video, so I can get everything ready in advance and not have to worry about whether or not I remembered everything. Again, the difference is between streams and videos. But I'll just say this with Braelyn, a.k.a. Flufffymonkey or Flufffymonkey coming over to YouTube. Make videos because you want to make videos, not to grow your Twitch stream. People will see through that very quickly. And if people know not to take you seriously on YouTube, where will they take you seriously? That's probably the number one problem that these Twitch streamers with their throwaway channels don't seem to understand. If the first impression of a much bigger audience on a much bigger platform is that you can't be taken seriously because you're blatantly just trying to grow a Twitch stream with a YouTube channel, you're just manipulating people instead of actually entertaining them. Where will you make up for that? Facebook? There's too many people out there that are getting a little too into the omni-channel side of social media. Oh, you have to have profiles everywhere. No. You have to know what your various web presences are going to be used for, and they all need to be interesting. If they're just clones of each other, then you haven't really made anything. You've just made one thing and copied it everywhere. And the only real people that benefit from that is people that refuse to use one platform over the other. But if you give your various presences some character, it's a completely different story. YouTube is no exception here. Let me just bring up those statistics again from that end of year report on the size of social media platforms that we mentioned earlier. So, Twitch is niche. I'm sorry, there's no other way to say it. It's a gaming platform. They've tried to expand, but they haven't, they've grown in their expansion categories, but they're still a very small platform. Twitch is very small. TikTok is bigger than Twitch in terms of top platforms, in terms of their user bases. And then YouTube's huge. Coming from Twitch to YouTube is like, despite Twitch being the more popular streaming setup or more popular streaming platform, Twitch, coming from Twitch to YouTube is going from the minor leagues to the major leagues. You're not going to come in here from Twitch with that Twitch attitude and, your mannerisms and whatnot from your stream and have people take you seriously over here. You have to respect YouTube for what it is. Get into YouTube because you want to get into YouTube, not as a stepping stone to something else. And respect the platform for what it is, which is a platform that's been around far longer than Twitch, is far more mature than Twitch. There's older creators like myself with actual gray hair over on Twitch, or over on YouTube instead of on Twitch. I do have a Twitch channel. It's a gaming channel. Nothing exciting. Twitch hasn't given me any real reason to do anything more than that. So, got the Twitch affiliate. Yay. If anyone tunes in, they tune in. I'm tempted to not even play games on there anymore except stuff that's underrepresented, because another one of the differences between Twitch and YouTube is the technology. Search engines, support for after-the-fact video, more robust DMCA stuff. Strikes that expire. Well, strikes expire on Twitch from what I hear nowadays, so a little bit of catch-up there. But let me give you an example of this. IRL streamers worried about copyright strikes. Person drives by, or how about the cop blasting Taylor Swift music? On Twitch, record company DMCAs you get a strike. On Twitch, it gets content, or on YouTube, it gets content ID'd. And you have a song scrubber in YouTube Creator Studio that you can use to drop the bit rate to the point where the system just lets it sounds like it's underwater. So it sounds like your stream was lagging at the time that person drives by. There are probably high-profile instances of copyright nonsense on Twitch that could have been avoided on YouTube. So, there are commentators like Harris Heller that talk about YouTubing, but you can tell that they have a big Twitch background because of the way they talk. And then there's Nick Nimmin, who is very, very YouTube-specific. And then there's Creator Insider, run by actual YouTube employees, although it's not an official YouTube channel. It's kind of a side project by some folks that work at YouTube. But there's a whole bunch of things that YouTube has that Twitch doesn't. A whole bunch of things that marks YouTube as a way bigger platform, way more mature platform, and way more technological platform, as evidenced by all these automated systems that routinely have problems. And the platform sometimes feeling like a never-ending work in progress. Very different beast from Twitch. So, for anybody like Flufffymonkey coming over to YouTube from Twitch or even from TikTok, check your Twitch attitudes at the door and enjoy the platform. Also, for anybody who's a Twitch affiliate, the exclusivity clause is only for multi-streaming. You theoretically could try streaming on YouTube as well on different days or whatever without having to worry about, as long as you're not multi-streaming, without running afoul of the Twitch affiliate agreement. There's even official help files on Twitch about that. But my recommendation to Braelyn coming over here, and anybody else like that who's curious about YouTube, even though they started on Twitch, and they're very, very biased as a result, because Twitch does that. They're very good at marketing and selling their ideas and getting people to think a certain way about online media. Come over here, check it out, take YouTube for a spin. Don't come waltzing in here expecting to change everything. No matter how passionate you are with Twitch and the way Twitch does things, many people aren't these days with the mistakes they make. Come on over to YouTube, check it out, make videos, stream, do short form, whatever it is, and respect the platform on its own merits. come over to YouTube to be a YouTuber, not to make your Twitch stream bigger. Because at a certain point, you may pull a Harris Heller and decide to say heck with Twitch, except for certain niche situations, and stream on YouTube. So, cool to have experience on other platforms, but take YouTube seriously and respect it on its own grounds, not because of some experience from somewhere else. Because it's certainly been around long enough to do that. All right, let's get to the rest of the stuff I want to do on this Saturday night, including tech videos. So listen to this, see how we'll see how these Logitech G settings went. Oh, wait, yeah, I minimized it, didn't I? Yeah, there we go. We'll see how these Logitech G settings went. See how much better they sound, or if I have to turn off more features like the de-esser or the limiter and just use the EQ and stuff and pick things up in OBS, because I don't have anything for EQ on OBS. Right. Looks like some of the folks in the chat were, yeah, it looks like the folks that stopped by in the chat were basically saying what I was saying anyways. Yep. But yeah, it's a different world on YouTube, but respect it. Take it seriously on its own merits. It can be pretty fun. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.